The Legislature Today is on the air from our flagship affiliate, the voice of the Northern Plains, 550 K-Fire, and affiliates Talk Radio AM 1100 The Flag Fargo and Talk Radio 1090 The Flag in the Bakken. We're broadcasting live from the historic Peacock Alley American Grill and Bar in downtown Bismarck, the National Cattlemen's Association Beef Innovator of the Year. You're about to find out what's happening in the North Dakota legislative session. Your host of the Legislature Today is Dale Wetzel, managing editor of Great Plains News and the Great Plains Examiner. If you have questions or comments or to watch the show, go to GreatPlainsNews.com. GreatPlainsNews.com. The Legislature Today is brought to you by the North Dakota Association of Oil and Gas Producing County, the Credit Union Association of the Dakota, the University of Mary, the North Dakota Corn, Soybean and Grain Growers Association, and the North Dakota Ethanol Council, the Northwest Landowners Association, Touchstone Energy Cooperative, North Dakota Rural Electric Cooperatives Association, and members Minn Kota Power and Great River Energy, the North Dakota chapter of Concerned Women for America, the Expressway Inn and Suites, where a good night's rest costs less, and the Peacock Alley. It's time to get started. Another hour of the Legislature Today is on the air.
This is Dale Wetzel. This is the Legislature Today radio program. We are coming to you from the Peacock Alley American Bar and Grill in downtown Bismarck, North Dakota. It is sunny outside, but it is cold, and apparently it's going to get colder. We have with us in the first half hour a couple of gentlemen to discuss the Department of Transportation's budget bill, the possible issue of a new North Dakota license plate, and some other issues. We have Representative Blair Thorson. He's a Republican from Fargo and the chairman of a House Appropriations Subcommittee that oversees the Department of Transportation budget. We also have a Representative Mike Brandenburg. He's a Republican from Edgeley who has been essentially in charge of explaining the Department of Transportation budget to the rest of the House. He's also a member of the House Appropriations Subcommittee, of which Representative Thorson is the chairman. We'll be speaking to these gentlemen in a moment. First of all, we'll go through real quickly a few things that happened in the legislature today. The House defeated for the second time in 2 days. Actually, this happened Friday and now again Monday. Defeated a bill that would have provided more expensive speeding tickets in North Dakota. North Dakota has some of the nation's lowest speeding fines and fines for moving violations, such as running a stop sign and failure to yield, and apparently it will remain that way. This bill was defeated last Friday because there were 11 members of the House absent when it was voted on Friday afternoon, and it did not reach the threshold of 48 votes that it needed to pass. Today there were more people present, but it still did not reach the number of 48 votes it needed to pass. And so I think that we may have seen the last of that effort. We have had a couple of constitutional amendments approved, one in the House, one in the Senate. One of them replaces the Board of Higher Education and the Chancellor with a 3-member higher education commission that would be responsible for running North Dakota's university system. We also had a constitutional amendment that essentially prohibits any sort of constitutional initiated measure that would require the legislature to spend money. It also says that any ballot measure that appropriates money or that causes a significant amount of impact on the state budget would have to be voted on during the November election. It would not be eligible for a vote in June, the June primary election, or during a special election. It would have to be decided in November. We also had a bit of a tussle about legislation that would regulate raw milk, unpasteurized milk. This bill would require dairy farms that deal with folks who supply raw milk to folks would have to inform the agriculture commissioner of this fact. North Dakota has a rather interesting way of regulating raw milk. You cannot purchase raw milk directly from a farm, but you can do what's called a cow share. You can buy a share of a dairy cow. In essence, you're helping to pay for its upkeep and its It's a care by the dairy farmer, and in exchange you get a share of the milk that cow produces. There are hundreds of North Dakotans, if not thousands, who avail themselves of this arrangement already, and a lot of them were heard from during the legislature's consideration of this bill because they think it is an infringement upon their rights. In the meantime, let's go to our guest this evening. Again, we have Representative Blair Thorson, a Republican from Fargo, and the chairman of the House Appropriations subcommittee that oversees the Department of Transportation. It's called the Government Operations Subcommittee. We also have Representative Mike Brandenburg, a Republican from Edgeley, and our resident expert on the numbers behind the Department of Transportation's budget bill. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
Representative Brandenburg, what does the transportation, first of all, the Department of Transportation budget right now, how large is it, and what is its significance when it comes to repairing roads and building roads in North Dakota?
Well, Dale, the budget for the Department of Transportation next biennium is $2.9 billion. So that means over the next 2 years, there's $2.9 billion that's going to go out to the state roads as well as the county roads and to the townships as well as to the cities, all the infrastructure within the state. And this budget is broke down by a number of different areas, and probably, earlier in the year we sent out $620 million to the western part of the state.
Is that in addition to what we were talking about here?
Yes, it is. And when you get all totaled out, that's a completely separate bill. But what we're trying to do, and working with the oil people too, this is one thing that we've done this session, is working with oil counties and non-oil counties and trying to find the balance between the needs for the oil counties as well as for the non-oil counties, and treat everybody fairly. And we're coming to the end of the session, hopefully someday. But there are some many agreements, but we have some differences, and we're trying to come together with those numbers of working together to meet the needs of both areas, with money going to the western part of the state as well as the eastern part of the state. There's a money there that about $190 million going to the western part of the state for oil counties, and $150 million going to non-oil counties, and that's all being in discussion, and those things are being worked out, and I believe at the end of the day we'll come together with some pretty good numbers to take care of the infrastructure. I mean, this is we're doing record-setting infrastructure needs right now. Last session we worked hard on it, and came back to this session, with the Great Plains study, looking at infrastructure needs, and this is what we're addressing: is to walk out of here and saying, hey, we're taking care of North Dakota needs for the infrastructure. This is one-time funding, and I think the people really will agree that something they want to see fixed is the roads. Whether you're driving in the city of Bismarck, or you're driving down interstate, or you're driving down a state road, or a county road, or a township road, they're all part of the system that feeds North Dakota and makes it work. And whether it's oil or agriculture, that's where it's coming from.
You mentioned that, or you seem to be saying that these numbers are in flux. How much do you expect them to change?
Well, Dale, we're not certain on that yet. Today 1358 came out with their numbers, which is the Senate proposal, and they had $160 million for the oil and $100 million for the non-oil. Now, I've had $150 million wrote in my hand for the last month, and see, it's still there, and we're working on that pretty hard, and so we've got to work on that. But I think we'll come together with some good numbers to take care of the needs, and there's always negotiation in everything we do.
What do you think this translates into in terms of roads that are repaired or built?
Well, what we really want to do is be able to get enough money out there so you can actually fix the roads. You don't want to just go out there and piecemeal and throw some gravel here, some patch, some blacktop. Some of these roads need to be actually fixed. If you're going to have good roads out there in the county, as well as the state, you got to fix them. Like putting a 2-lane highway out there in 85, that's why we send the $620 million out there earlier, because that road needs to be a 4-lane highway. There's no question about it. But also the county roads that are being used and carrying, we're dealing with corn. Where 10, 15, 20 years ago we were dealing with 40 bushel wheat at best, maybe 50, and now we're dealing with 150 bushel corn. We 4 times the needs of that road. And so the roads some of them are just completely destroyed. They need to be fixed. You got to fix a stretch of road, whether it's 5 miles or 20 miles, and that's what this is meant to do.
When you say fixed, do you mean rebuilt, basically?
Rebuilt, yes. Yeah. Dale, you've got to go out there and you've got to go out and actually fix that road and rebuild it, repave it. Some that are gravel, got to have more gravel and bring the edges up. What you do is you bring up the edges of the road and re-slope it, and then put new gravel on it and reblade it, and then you've got a road because after a while the road gets pushed down, and then the water sits in the middle of the road, and then the trucks go through and the cars go through, pickups, whatever, and you leave ruts, and it gets deeper and deeper. You try to patch here and patch there. There hasn't been enough money in the past to try to fix that, and some of these roads are not only hard to travel, but they're unsafe.
Do you have any idea how many miles of road you can rebuild with this kind of money we're talking about?
Well, with the 100, I can just tell you, if you're going to bring up the shoulders and re-gravel on a gravel road, you're talking about $10,000 a mile. If you're going to lay down blacktop, you're probably talking more like close to, I've heard numbers anywhere from $500,000 to more for a mile. So, it gets very spendy when you start working with blacktop, but a lot of these roads we know may not be able to be replaced with blacktop, but they certainly can bring the edges up, put some nice gravel on it, or go in there and grind. They're talking about grinding some of these blacktop roads up and putting in the mixture there that makes them kind of in between a pavement and a gravel road, so that you got a good solid road that can carry a 105,000-pound load to get these trucks to handle the infrastructure that we need.
Representative Thorson, this bill includes a new issue of license plates, and one of the elements of it says that these license plates shall be digital license plates. Now, what does that mean?
Well, Dale, we've not had a new plate issued in the state in over 20 years, and what's happening now, there's basically one vendor that provides the materials for license plates. They, the embossed plate, which we have now, has the raised letters. A lot of the states around us have gone to what's called a digital or flat plate, and it's a thinner aluminum material. So while there is a bit of upfront cost that's more than what we would have normally, there's a savings over the years out because you're using a lighter weight material. But what it does is it just produces an image on the plate itself. And right now they have what's called DLP, Digital License Plate Processing. The company that provides this right now is 3M. They have a new technology coming out later this year or early next year, which I think they're calling it Raptor, which would actually be a laser image. They would use a laser printing image on the same material, and it's supposedly much more high definition, sharper image. So what we're trying to do is say we would like to move forward going to the flat plate, because what we have now is kind of the technology of the past. We'd have to put quite a bit of investment into the equipment we have now when we do put a new plate in. So let's move forward. The other states around us, Montana, South Dakota, and Minnesota, are using this. We don't know if the current digital processing technology is the best or what's coming forward, but what we would like to see is language that gives the Department of Transportation some flexibility to look between those two, but to still move to the flat plate technology.
Does a flat plate that's digitally printed, does it last as long as an embossed plate?
From what I understand, it does. They still use kind of the same base material. It just is a thinner metal itself, but from what I've tried to read up on, I think there's 17 states that have moved to the flat plate technology, and it should have a similar lifespan. Now, obviously, we are well past the normal lifespan of a plate as is, not doing one for 20 years, and I'm not certain that we, unlike other states that have a regular replacement cycle, North Dakota does not. We could look at that, I suppose, at some point. That's not part of this bill, but I would think this will still take us out many, many years before we have to look at this once again.
What does the Highway Patrol think about an embossed plate versus a printed digital plate?
We've heard both. I guess the Highway Patrol probably has indicated that they do like the embossed plate a bit more because of visibility. I can only say that several weeks ago before we had our second dose of winter come through, I was in western North Dakota where the roads were fairly muddy. You could tell the plates were completely covered. From what I observed, the flat plate is a little less visible, but maybe only for a distance of 5 to 10, maybe 20 feet. So I guess just anecdotally seeing it for myself, I think it still probably would work just fine.
Does a digital license plate, or does that option offer you more choices in terms of what to put on the plate?
Well, the base plate itself will still be kind of similar to what we have now. Actually, North Dakota right now is kind of running two plates because we still have the Lewis and Clark plate, which was a specialty plate, but a lot of vehicles have that. Under this, that most likely would go away with a uniform design. It would still give the option of doing the specialty plates as we have now with the medallion, so to speak, over on the left-hand side. Our thought is still to kind of have a uniform plate. There are some states that have many. I think Maryland has, over 200 choices. We don't really want to see that. We still want to have one uniform, new plate, new design. And the language we have in the bill says that it would still have to come to the budget section of the legislature for approval before it's produced.
What do you think about that design process that's set out in the bill? It says the Department of Transportation will have a process for having a new plate, and then the budget section would approve the new plate. First of all, could you tell us what the budget section is, and also just tell us what is the budget section's expertise in judging license plates?
Well, the budget section is it's a committee made up of members of the Senate and House Appropriations Committees and also leadership from the chamber, both on the majority and minority sides, and it consists of roughly about 40 persons. I'm not certain that we're experts any more than anyone else, but it does kind of have a broad cross-section of people from throughout the state who would look at this and say, we think this is all right. I guess, that's something that it could be debated whether or not it's necessary. I think we'd just like to see that since it is a major change over this many years, that there is some input from the legislature because we still, have to respond to the constituents which we serve.
Representative Brandenburg, do you have any sort of elements of a new license plate that you'd like to see?
Well, Dale,
maybe a duck or something? Or
let me tell you, this license plate has really, been something that people have kind of come kicking and screaming. But we're here today, and it looks like we're gonna do it. I had some reservations at first, but after looking at it, I think it's time to change the plate. I have voted for it. I am supporting it. I was trying to get some dates changed for trucks, so we could change the plates on July 1st instead of December 1st, but I had some pushback from my friends, saying that they actually bought me a pair of handy gloves and set them on my desk and told me that I could change my plates and it's 20 below, but I didn't really agree with them. But there is some of those issues that you deal with. I think Dale, it's probably time for us to change the plate. I mean, it's been a number of years. But the one thing we do want to do is have the newest technology that's available. I think we'd be going backwards if we went to the embossed plate. When you're looking at new technology, it's like, working with the computers. We kind of fight that technology, and all of a sudden you get into it and learn what that new technology can do for you. You got to embrace it. And that's what's happening here with the license plate. It's probably time that I'm finding that the younger people want the new plate. The older people say the plate's good enough. They'd rather take their knife and scratch off the old tabs and put on a new tab. But reality is that, we have to make some changes.
What is it if I'm a driver, and is it going to cost me something to get a new plate?
I think when the new issue comes out, there's a fee for a new plate of, I'm not sure, is it $5? I don't recall.
Less than
but
10.
It's a minimal fee anyway, and this is something that would just come forward when you get the new plate. And so, we don't want to have a huge fiscal impact on the citizens of the state.
Right.
One of the other issues that did come up, you mentioned the Highway Patrol. There is a safety issue in the fact that as plates get older, the reflectivity of them wears away, and we do have some plates that are out there that are actually 20 years old. We were given examples in committee where You see plates that pretty much all of the lettering and numbering, except for the embossed part, is worn off. So I think using a new plate, even if there is a small cost, it is a public safety issue where we can make some changes there also.
Do you think that this might, in a way, encourage folks who are newcomers to North Dakota to get a North Dakota plate? I mean, is there any connection there?
I think that might be something. I really want to see if we're going to do this now, because it is a long time. The committee that the DOT puts together has some citizen input also, because we've always been the Peace Garden state. I think that is mandated. That's on the plate, and we like that saying. But I think there's so many other things we can do. Maybe we want to tie in something with being a energy and agricultural champion for the United States. I think we really have an opportunity here to say we're doing great in North Dakota.
Is one of the elements in this to end the requirement that Peace Garden State be printed on the plate?
No, I think that's actually in statute, and we have not done anything with that. That will stay.
I think, there's going to, like Representative Thorson was saying, that people submit their whatever ideas to the DOT. DOT will look at them all, and then they're going to come to the budget section. We're going to look at them, have final approval, so that way we make sure that it's something that we really want.
This doesn't really have anything to do with the Department of Transportation budget, but I wanted both of you to comment on today you all voted on speeding tickets, speeding fines, and that there have been a couple of votes in the last few days about whether to raise speeding fines, and both of these were defeated. What do you both think about the need, if there is one, for higher speeding fines? First of all, Representative Brandenburg.
Well, Dale, that's an issue that, we look at the fines in this state, and some people would say, and I have to say that, they might have taken too big of a step to try to increase, because a lot of those speeding fines were doubled, and that was the pushback on that. I think if they would have came up with a more moderate increase in the fines, and when you look at them and all of a sudden you go from $1 a mile to $5 a mile, and you start putting those types of increases there, that was the pushback of the bill. And I think if they would have had a more moderate increase in the speeding fines, that it probably would have been accepted better, and probably in retrospect, I think they wish they would have done that.
I tend to agree there. I've also always advocated that maybe we should look at increasing points taken away, because that's something which really has an impact on the citizens. If they were to get a lot of points taken off, it could affect everything from their insurance to having a license. I have supported some increases in fines in the past in school zones and other areas, but I think we should go that way. And one other thing, the issue of public safety was brought up. One of the things we're doing is adding 15 more licensed or sworn troopers in the state for the highway patrol. I think that's going to make a big impact, including the ones we've added here during the special session and other areas. So I think the law enforcement presence is going to be out there. They can certainly use what we have on the books now to enforce that.
One of the things that the cities have pushed for is the ability to set their own speeding and traffic violation fines. Do you see them making any headway there?
Well, I think that the cities have got their own issue, as I know they wanted to raise them too. And I think they're going to, I don't know if that's going to be resolved this session or not.
That might be something for the future.
That's something for the future, as I see it.
We've been speaking to Representative Mike Brandenburg. He's the gentleman whose voice you just heard. He's a Republican from Edgeley and a member of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Government Operations, which looks over the Department of Transportation budget. We also have had with us Representative Blair Thorson. He's a Republican from Fargo, and he is the chairman of the Government Operations Subcommittee of House Appropriations. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dale.
Well, thank you, Dale.
Up next, we're going to have Representative Dwight Kiefert and Senator Joe Miller. They're going to be talking about raw milk, which is unpasteurized milk, which some North Dakotans like to drink. We're going to talk about that.